This tutorial is to give you some guidance on your financial book review. The first thing I've done is given you a map of how to kind of work through this throughout the entire semester. The first step is I would make a brainstorm, kind of a web to organize your ideas and different things as you're working through reading in your book, and just to kind of help keep track of things so that you don't have to try and remember every single page that you would like to refer to once you get to your paper. This is really helpful for visual and tactile learners. So the first thing I would do is make your big main idea, and this might end up being your introductory paragraph and possibly the title of your paper. Then off to the side you need 5 boxes. I know this only shows 4, but you need 5 because you'll be comparing 5 concepts from the book to 5 principles in the gospel. You need 5 main ideas. Next, once you've completed your brainstorm web, then it kind of falls really nicely into an outline in which your introductory paragraph will probably come from this main purpose, and it will be helpful if you list all 5 topics that concepts that you will be addressing throughout the rest of the paper. So your introductory paragraph, tell me what you're going to tell me. And because you're comparing the 5 concepts in this first introductory paragraph, to tell me what you're going to tell me, then tell me, and then tell me what you did tell me, kind of that old adage. So in this one, tell me maybe the 5 concepts that you're going to be discussing throughout the rest of the paper. Then you have your supporting paragraphs, which will come from each of these main ideas, or in other words, the 5 concepts that you'll be comparing. So that'll be these next paragraphs. Your concluding paragraph, and I know this only shows 3 and you will have 5, your concluding paragraph, going back to the tell me what you're going to tell me, that'll be the introductory paragraph, then tell me, those are your supporting paragraphs. The conclusion is tell me what you told me, and don't forget, make this very personal. So in the each of these supporting paragraphs from your 5 concepts, what I would do is I'm going through the book is I would find a quote from the book about the concept that you would like to compare and contrast, or even just paraphrase. Maybe find that quote and put a page number. Then do some searching through the scriptures and different church publications to find a comparison. Personal ideas or opinions are not considered gospel truths. Even if it is truth to the gospel, you need to make sure that you have a solid supporting quote, paraphrasing something that you can cite from the scriptures or church publication. And I would put that next to your quote from the book. Then the third one, find your personal connection, either a reflection or an application or something you've been doing since. You don't have to have these concepts perfectly down in your life. Just make some sort of a personal thought process here that so each of these 5 main ideas, you'll have at least 3 bubbles that you can compare to. Are you limited to only 3? No, go ahead. If you want to find another gospel quote, feel free. Or if you feel that you need 2 quotes from the book, that's fine. But don't let the quotes overpower your voice. Make sure that you have enough of your own connecting sentences and your own personal voice in here that these 2 quotes from the book and from a church publication, that your voice isn't totally overwhelmed. And then your concluding paragraph, again, summarize what you told me, maybe make some more personal connections, and you're done. Okay, this body from here to here should be 2 to 3 pages. Step 3. So notice we did the outline. Step 3 is actually taking that outline and putting it into paper form. So all you have to do from this outline, so you'll have your first supporting detail, which would probably be a quote or a paraphrasing from the book. Your second supporting detail is a quote or comparison to the gospel, and your third comparing or supportive detail is your own personal application or reflection Then you need to make a transition into your second paragraph and then go to your second topic or your second concept. So all you're doing now is taking that outline and moving it into a text that flows from one idea to the other, and you connect it with connecting sentences. That's the third step. Then step 4, don't forget, you need a title page and a works cited page. These don't count towards your 2 to 3 page requirement, so you'll end up with approximately 5 pages of work. Your title page, you should have your title of your paper, and you can title it what you're going to be discussing. So are you going to be discussing some concepts from the gospel to your book? Are you going to be focusing more on your personal take on things? Different things like that. So put the title of your paper, your name, the course and section number. So if you're in Math 100G section number 55, and then the date that this is due, and maybe even a photo. You could do a photo of your book, some clip art. You don't have to, that's just an idea. Your works cited page, you need to have all your works that you've quoted or paraphrased, books, magazines, pamphlets. You'll need the title of the book, magazine, or pamphlet, the author, the date, and the page number from where this comes from. Websites can also be cited with the URL. I'm not going to grade on if you're doing a correct MLA or an APA or other different formats for citing, just as long as you have the correct information. Okay, now that you have the title of your paper done, you need to conclude it with a works cited page. So this is why it was really important to keep track of the page number in the book and your citings and quotations in your Brainstorm web, so that this makes it really easy when you get to this part. So each of your quotations, including paraphrasing and different citations, you need to have the last name of the author, the first name, the title, and then the publisher and the year. And it's different for books with one author, magazines, and by the way, you don't put book with one author in your works cited page or online magazine. For online articles, you can paste the URL in after you've cited it so that it's easier to find and different things like that. And I've provided this as well so that you can look through and kind of get an idea of how to cite things. Now this is only in the works cited page. You also need to cite within the text which quote comes from where. So within the text, you can do MLA or APA just as long as you have something that references your works cited page. So you'll have the last name or whatever comes first here, depending on if it's a magazine or different things like that. The last name and then the page number. If you're citing scriptures, you could go ahead and put in Bible and then put the scripture, the book, the chapter and verse if you would like. You could also do page number. I'm okay just as long as you have some of the information. Like I said, I'm not going to be grading if you've done a perfect MLA or APA citation. All right, now here's the rubric. It's kind of broken down to make sure that you've gotten the all of the requirements. Remember, it's a 2 to 3 page paper. That's the body of your typing. Then you'll have your title page at the front and the reference page at the end, so you'll have 2 more pages on top of that 2 to 3 page. Please make sure that this is double spaced and that you're addressing all of these things. Make sure that you make things grammatically correct, things are pleasing, punctuation and so forth. Title page and your resources or the works cited page. Make sure that you've identified 5 of the concepts from your book and then compare each of these concepts to the gospel. Notice to get all 3 points, you need to support and give concrete evidence that that is indeed a principle from the gospel by having a paraphrase and a citing or a quotation or some sort of way to cite back to the gospel or church publication that that is indeed a principle that we live by. Personal opinions and just stating kind of your idea is not fact. Then please reflect on how each concept and its alignment to the gospel, or if that's applicable, will help you in your personal finances, or a reflection in your personal finances, or something somehow integrated into your words. And using the generic we, or the generic you, or the generic us isn't considered a personal reflection, in my opinion. Now notice, of course, all of your teachers are going to grade things a little differently, but for me, I want it to be very personal to you so that I hear your voice coming through the paper. Make sure that you're citing your sources appropriately, and this was all given as directions on iLearn. And make sure you include a title and reference page. And in preparation for your assignment, make sure that you read the talk, Removing Barriers to Happiness by Elder Richard G. Scott, and that will be in the resource folder in Lesson 11. Okay, so that's kind of the working through of what you could be doing. Now, here's an example of what I kind of pulled together so that you, especially you visual learners, it would make a little more sense. So what I've done is I just kind of did a really rough comparison so that I could show you kind of what to expect. So of course mine is typed up. You might want to just be doing yours by hand and highlighting things in your book and referencing page numbers. Make sure that each of these has some sort of gospel comparison, a quote, maybe it came from the Bible and it was from John, and you wanted to quote it, it was 3:5, something like that, so that you know when you're doing your writing and everything else that it's really easy to find. And then I would probably put your personal reflection in there as well. And something I didn't put here, I would also put the page number to quote from your book. Whether you're going to quote it or do a paraphrase, you still need to cite it even if you've paraphrased it, because it's not your ideas, it's the author's words. Make a personal reflection and application, and that's for each of these 5 concepts from the book. You can pick any 5 concepts that you would like. Just make sure that you have, and I should have put 3 in there, so you have the gospel comparison, the quote from the book, or paraphrase, some way to cite it, and your own personal. Then once you have that done, then it kind of moves you into the outline, and so you can rearrange your concepts to where they flow a little better. Your introduction, introduce your 5 concepts and principles from the book that you're going to focus on. You can come at it from any sort of creative way, just so that you're going to tell us what you're going to tell us. Then the body of the paper is what you're telling us that you were told us in the introduction. So you have first concept, and you don't have to go in order. You can do these differently. So you have a quote from the prophets, a quote from the scriptures. You can do several quotes from the scriptures, a quote from your author, and a personal reflection. And you can, reverse those. You can start with the personal reflection and then go to the quote from the book, and then maybe a couple of quotes from the scriptures. But remember, don't let the quotes overpower your voice. If you have 7 lines of quote and only an introduction of the quote and a small comparison at the very end, so you have 7 lines of quotes and maybe 2 lines of your voice, that's not a paper. That's just gathering information for quotes. You'll also notice that I kind of color-coded this so that you can see that the concepts from the book are in this kind of light bluey purple. Red would be from church publications, and green is your own personal reflection. You can do whatever reflection you would like, or application, or since you've read the book, what you have now been doing or what you used to do, somehow to make it personal to you. And so what I've done is I've broken this into paragraphs here, and then in the conclusion you can go through a conclusion of everything in the concepts and how it compared to the gospel. And you don't have to agree with the author. It's fine if you don't. Some people have also done quotes from the book and done their own gospel comparison, and then at the very end done their personal reflection to each and every single one of the concepts. And that's fine too, as long as you have all three things: the book, the scriptures, and you. Just make sure that you have enough from you. And here's kind of another way. I've listed it over here. You have your introduction: tell us what you're going to tell us; the body, tell us what you're telling us; and the conclusion, tell us what you told us, and tie it all together. I also made a really quick, now this is not perfect by any means, a really quick example of a financial book review, so don't take this literally. I just kind of threw it together really quick, especially for you visual people, so that you can see. I have my title page. I added in a picture because I'm a visual learner. And then I start with my introduction paragraph. I have my 5 concepts. I distinguish them here. Then I go through my first concept. I have a quote from the book. Then I have a quote from a gospel publication, and then I need to cite this as I can do Smith, because this is from translated by Joseph Smith, and then I would have a page number. Or I could do Book of Mormon, and then cite, this was from First, we'll do First Nephi, and then do the chapter and the verse. You could do that as well. I'm fine with that. Again, like I said, I'm not going to be grading a perfect MLA or APA citation, but you do need to make sure that you're citing it throughout the context of the book, so that, or your paper, so that I know which books you're referencing in the citing page or the works cited page. So I'm going to do this just because it's a little smaller and it's not going to put me over too far at the end. Personally, as I'm grading this, if you find that you spill over just to kind of conclude your thoughts in past your 3rd page, I'm okay with that. If you go beyond the 3rd page or the 4th page or the 5th page, I'll start deducting points. So if you spill over onto the 4th page, I'm okay with that. After the 4th page of the body, your works, not including the title page and the works cited page, I'll start deducting. So if you've spilled onto 5 pages and 6 pages, so just make sure that you're keeping track of that. Okay, and like I said, see, I'm not really going through in a very fine-tooth comb to make this perfect. So on and so forth. As Latter-day Saints, we've been encouraged, and then maybe put a quote here to prove that that's what quote, and so I guess quote should be in that, and then we have to do a citation. So this is from, let's say I picked a quote from the Ensign, and it was page 7, or if I have the author from where this was, I'll put this came from Hinckley, and you do the last name. It's not inappropriate to just put Hinckley, and Hinckley, and I'm going to put a comma here. And like I said, this was a quote, so I'll put in a quote to say this is where I got this information, because this right here is my own interpretation of the gospel, and I need to have that proof. Here I've shown that if you have a long quote, about 4 lines, then it needs to be separate from the body of your text. So what you do is you return or enter, and then you have your quote, indent the whole thing over, and indent over here, and then make it the full indentation so that it's justified. That's how you do a larger quote. In doing that, it also shows you how much of your own contribution and voice is coming through. If you have all of these really big quotes coming in and you're putting it in the body of your text without making it separate, it looks like you have a very large paper, when in reality all you're doing is adding in quotes, and I need to hear your voice. Okay, so again, I have my next concept, and I have a quote from the scriptures or church publications, and then I have a quote from my book, and then a personal application or reflection, and so forth for every single concept. So this is how I've mapped it out. So I have my introduction, my first paragraph with my first concept. I'm comparing it, my second paragraph with my second concept. Make sure that I've cited that concept within the book, make my comparison and make a cite for or a reference to some gospel publication, and then my own personal. When my husband and I, something very personal that grabs the reader. And then so on and so forth for the next concept. And the next concept, you have a quote from the book. And you can mix these up, remember. It doesn't have to be book, gospel, personal. You can mix it up and start with personal, gospel, book, something like that, so that you know that you're comparing them all. And then in your conclusion, you kind of tell me what you told me, make it personal to you, and then your final will be the works cited. Now also please remember that all of this was double spaced and I didn't go beyond. I spilled over a little bit, so that was okay. And then you have your works cited page. My pamphlet, all is safely gathered in. This one you don't have like an official author. You can put the First Presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and again the year. And so that's your works cited page. Good luck on your paper.